It started with something so small, so absurd, it felt like a joke. A paint color. That's all. I had repainted my cabin's front door from the HOA's mandated sage mist beige to a deep forest green. A rich, earthy tone that actually matched the surrounding pines and gave the place some character. The cabin sits in Pine Ridge Estates, a gated mountain community in Colorado, surrounded by aspen trees and snow-capped peaks. I bought it 3 years ago for $320,000 with a 15-year fixed mortgage at 3.8%. Last year, when rates dropped, I refinanced down to 2.9%, saving over $12,000 in interest over the life of the loan. I wasn't just buying a vacation home. I was building equity, diversifying my real estate portfolio, and creating a passive income stream through Airbnb rentals. The place brings in an average of $3,200 per month during peak season. So when I decided to repaint the front door, it wasn't rebellion. It was personalization. It was pride. It was ownership. But 2 days later, a certified letter arrived from the Pine Ridge Homeowners Association. Violation notice. Unauthorized exterior modification. Parcel hash PR 801821. The fine? $150. And a demand to restore the door to its original color within 14 days or face escalating enforcement measures. I laughed. I paid the fine online through my bank's bill pay system, tagging it in my budget as HOA extortion tax, non-deductible. I even posted a photo of the receipt on the community forum with the caption, "Paid my protection money? Can I paint my mailbox next?" That's when the tone changed. The HOA president, Diane Kessler, messaged me privately, "This is not a joke, Mr. Reyes. Compliance is mandatory. Further defiance will have consequences." I shrugged it off. I've dealt with power-tripping hoes before. I knew the playbook. Fines, liens, maybe a hearing. But what happened next wasn't in any homeowner's manual. It was straight out of a crime thriller, and it targeted my wife. Lisa was unloading groceries from the SUV around 5:30 p.m. when 2 Harley-Davidsons roared into our driveway. Not your weekend riders. These were men built like linebackers, 6'4", 260 pounds, leather vests with enforcers' missy patches, skulls and flames stitched across the back. No helmets. Sunglasses. Tattoos snaking up their necks. One of them cut the engine, stepped off slowly, and walked straight toward her. I was inside, editing a video for my finance channel, when my doorbell camera pinged. I looked at my phone, and my blood froze. The man leaned in, towering over Lisa, who had backed up against the car. "You're the wife of the guy who painted the door," he said, voice low and rough. She nodded, barely whispering, "Yeah? Why?" He didn't touch her, but he didn't have to. The threat was in his posture, his tone, the way he smirked. "Tell him to fix it, or next time, we won't just talk." Then they both laughed, mounted their bikes, and left. Engines screaming like a warning siren. Lisa ran inside, pale, hands shaking, tears in her eyes. I held her, my mind racing. This wasn't enforcement. This was intimidation. This was fear. And it was personal. I pulled her close, told her she was safe, but inside I was furious. This wasn't about a door. This was about control. About power. About sending a message. We own you. And I wasn't going to let that stand. I pulled up the full 4K security footage, night vision, 2-way audio, timestamp. Crystal clear. I saved the video to 3 locations. My encrypted external drive, Google Drive, and Dropbox. I also uploaded it to a private unlisted YouTube link and emailed it to my attorney, my financial advisor, and 2 trusted friends as a time-stamped backup. I then called the HOA office. The same woman answered. "Did you send 2 biker guys to threaten my wife today?" I asked, my voice steady. She paused. "We don't know who you're talking about, Mr. Reyes, but if you don't comply, enforcement will escalate." I nearly dropped the phone. They weren't denying it. They were confirming it. I hung up and called my attorney, Susan Langford. the same one who helped me fight the foreclosure scam last year. She listened to the audio clip and said, "This could be criminal coercion, intentional infliction of emotional distress, and possibly a civil rights violation under state law. You need to file a police report today. And check your homeowner's insurance. Some policies cover legal defense for harassment claims." I did. I pulled up my policy with State Farm. Buried in Section 8, Subsection D, Civil Liability Protection. Up to $25,000 in legal fees for non-criminal threats, stalking, or harassment. I filed a claim that night. I also activated a EG credit regime with all three bureaus, Equifax, Experian, TransUnion, TOT. If this was identity-based targeting, I didn't want them opening accounts in my name or accessing my mortgage details. I reviewed my financial position. $68,000 in a high-yield savings account, Ally Bank, 4.75% APY, $220,000 in home equity, and a 790 credit score. I had the resources to fight, but I needed a strategy. The next morning, I filed a police report for criminal threat and harassment. The officer reviewed the footage and said, "These guys have priors. One was arrested in Nevada for extortion, the other for assault with a deadly weapon." I requested a restraining order against both individuals and the HOA for enabling them. Meanwhile, I posted a 90-second teaser on my YouTube channel. My HOA hired bikers to scare my wife. Here's the footage. I didn't say anything. Just played the audio. Tell them to fix it, or next time we won't just talk. The video exploded. 400K views in 12 hours. Comments poured in. "This is a federal case. Check your title insurance. They might cover emotional distress. You need a concealed carry permit. File for a business LLC to protect your assets." I took every suggestion seriously. I enrolled in a self-defense and firearms safety course, covered under my HSA as a preventive health measure. I also consulted a financial advisor. If this goes to trial, how does it impact my net worth, taxes, and insurance premiums? He ran the numbers. Worst case scenario, $75 in legal fees, possible property devaluation, long-term credit monitoring, ... But with the right evidence and public pressure, I could win, and even get punitive damages. By day 4, the HOA sent a formal letter denying any involvement. The association does not employ or contract with individuals for enforcement actions, but I wasn't buying it. I hired a private investigator, a former detective I'd used during a credit fraud case last year. He traced the motorcycle club. Not a real matey. A shell group registered in Wyoming under Summit Compliance Solutions, the same company the HOA had contracted for code enforcement. Bank records showed a $5,000 wire transfer from the HOA's reserve fund to Summit 2 weeks before the incident. I had proof. I drafted a cease and desist letter citing RICO statutes. Yes, racketeering, FDPA violations, debt collection harassment, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. I sent it via certified mail. I also filed complaints with the FBI Civil Rights Division, the Colorado Attorney General, and the FTC. I wasn't just protecting my wife. I was building a case that could bankrupt the HOA and expose their entire shadow network. And I was documenting it all, for my channel, for justice, and for every homeowner who's ever been bullied into silence. That night, I sat with Lisa on the porch. The mountain air was cold, but we stayed out there, wrapped in blankets. "We're not backing down," I said. "They picked the wrong family." She nodded, sipping tea. "But we're not just fighting for our door. We're fighting for our safety, our peace, and our financial future." I hit record. The video would be called, "Ho sent biker thugs to scare my wife." 3 minutes later, they were at my door begging me to stop. I didn't know it yet, but the title would be literal, and it would go viral. I uploaded the full 12-minute story the next day. Within 48 hours, it had 2.1 million views. Advertisers started noticing. I began seeing high RPM finance ads. "Get a home security system for $0 down. Protect your family with life insurance. Check your credit for identity theft. Need a personal loan for legal fees?" My RPM jumped from $8 to $38. But more importantly, I had the momentum. I had the evidence. And I had the plan. This wasn't just about winning. It was about exposing a system that had been abusing homeowners for years, all while hiding behind bylaws and bureaucracy. I reviewed my emergency fund again. $68,000. Enough to cover 6 months of expenses, legal fees, and security upgrades. I transferred $5,000 to a separate legal war chest account where I'd track every dollar spent. I also reached out to my mortgage lender to confirm my loan was still in good standing. It was. No lines, no flags. I pulled my credit report. Clean and dead. Clean. No inquiries, no collections. But I knew that could change if the HOA tried to file a false lien. So I set up credit monitoring alerts through Experian and LifeLock. Any change, any inquiry, any new account, I'd know within minutes. I also contacted my title insurance company. They confirmed that if a fraudulent lien was filed and led to a title dispute, I'd cover legal fees up to $100,000. Another layer of protection. I wasn't just reacting. I was building a fortress. Financially, legally, emotionally. I upgraded my home security, added motion sensor floodlights, a Ring doorbell with two-way audio, and an 8-camera surveillance system. Total cost, $1,200, a fraction of what a lawsuit could cost. I also installed a panic button linked to my phone and the local sheriff's non-emergency line. Every device was on a separate network, encrypted, with 2-factor authentication. I didn't want them hacking my system. I reviewed my homeowner's insurance again. It covered civil liability for non-physical threats, including psychological trauma. I filed a claim for $15,000 for counseling and emotional distress, approved in 72 hours. I donated half to a local domestic violence shelter, using the rest for therapy sessions for Lisa and me. We needed it. The trauma was real. But so was the healing. And every step, every document, every receipt, every video was going into my master evidence folder. Whole war room, legal and financial defense. 3 days after the incident, I got a call from the security gatehouse. 2 motorcycles requesting entry to your property. My pulse spiked. I was in the middle of filming a follow-up video titled, "How I'm Fighting Back Against My Ho's Thugs," and I paused the camera. "Are they the same ones?" I asked. "Looks like it," the guard replied. "Same bikes, same vests." I took a deep breath. This wasn't a coincidence. This was escalation. I turned on all 8 security cameras, 4 exterior, 2 interior, 1 on the garage, 1 on the back deck, and made sure every recording was sent into the cloud in real time. I armed the alarm system, double-checked that the panic button was within reach, and grabbed my phone. "Let them in," I said. "But record everything, audio, video, metadata, and notify me the second they leave." The gate buzzed open. I walked to the front window and watched as the 2 Harleys rolled in slowly, engines rumbling like a warning. Same men, same leather vests with enforcers' messy patches, same mirrored sunglasses. They parked, cut the engines, and stepped off their bikes with that same slow, intimidating swagger. I didn't wait for them to knock. I opened the door before they reached it. "Can I help you?" I said. Calm, steady, camera rolling inside the Ring doorbell. The taller one, James, sneered. "We're here to talk about the door and the video. You need to delete it." I smiled. "Delete it? I already uploaded it to the cloud, sent copies to my lawyer, the police, and the FBI. You're on camera right now, audio too. So whatever you say, it's being recorded." The second guy, Marcus, shifted uncomfortably, glancing at James. "You don't know who you're messing with," James growled, stepping forward. "I do," I said, not backing up an inch. James R. Carter, convicted of extortion in 2018 in Clark County, Nevada, and Marcus T. Dale, arrested for assault with a deadly weapon in 2020 in Maricopa County. I ran your plates, your vests, your ring, the skull with the serpent. I know everything. Their faces went pale. How do you know that? James stammered. That's when I knew I had them. I stepped aside. Come in. Let's talk. They hesitated. We're not here to fight, I said. I just want to understand, who paid you? Was it the HOA? Summit Compliance Solutions? I've got subpoenas ready. One of you talks and you get full immunity. The other goes to prison for witness tampering and conspiracy. They looked at each other, panic setting in. I poured 2 glasses of water and set them on the table. Sit down. This doesn't have to end badly. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't threaten. I offered them a way out. Legally, financially, morally. I played the long game. I told them about the FBI investigation, the class action lawsuit, the media coverage. You're not just employees, I said. You're co-conspirators in a federal RICO case. That's up to 20 years. But if you cooperate, you walk away. No charges, no prison. Just the truth. 20 minutes in, Marcus broke. Look, we were hired to scare people. Show up, talk tough, maybe bang on a door. Never threats, never violence. But your video, it's everywhere. Our boss is furious. The HOA is under investigation. If we're linked to a federal case, we're done. I nodded. Then help me stop it. Sign an affidavit. Name the contractor. I'll ensure you're protected. He agreed. James held out until I played the audio clip of him saying, "Next time, we won't just talk." His face dropped. That wasn't a threat. That was just talk. The DA will decide that, I said. He folded. They both signed sworn statements on my dining table, with cameras rolling. I didn't touch them. I didn't yell. I offered them a way out, and it worked. As they left, James turned. You're not like the others. You're prepared. I said, I protect what's mine, my family, my home, my credit, my future. They drove off slowly. No revving, no show. I uploaded the footage. Not the confrontation, but the aftermath. The signed affidavits, the police report, the wire transfer proof from the HOA to Summit Compliance. I titled it, Ho Hired Thugs. Here's how I made them confess. It hit 1 million views in 48 hours. Advertisers went wild. Get a home security system for $0 down. Protect your family with life insurance. Check your credit for identity theft. Need a personal loan for legal fees? My RPM jumped from $18 to $38 overnight. But more importantly, I had the evidence to destroy the HOA's defense. The affidavits were notarized and submitted to the district attorney. Within 48 hours, the HOA board suspended the property manager. Summit Compliance Solutions shut down. The lead biker was arrested, and the HOA president resigned. But I wasn't done. I filed a civil suit for emotional distress, invasion of privacy, and punitive damages. My attorney estimated a settlement could exceed $500,000, tax-free under personal injury laws. I also filed a claim with my homeowner's insurance for psychological trauma coverage. Yes, it exists. They approved $15,000 for counseling. I used it to start a support fund for other HOA abuse victims. I wasn't just winning. I was changing the game. The DA upgraded the case to a federal investigation under the Fair Housing Act and RICO statutes. Yes, we were arguing the HOA operated like a criminal enterprise. News outlets picked it up. Hobiker scandal shakes Colorado community. My story was featured on Crime Watch Daily, The Real Story, and even a segment on CNBC as Your Money, Your Life. Finance blogs quoted me, Your home is only as safe as your financial preparedness. I started seeing even more lucrative ads. Get pre-approved for a personal loan. How to protect your assets from lawsuits. Open a business LLC to shield your personal finances. Monitor your credit 24/7. Refinance your mortgage and save thousands. My RPM peaked at $52 on one video, a record for my channel. But the real victory wasn't the money. It was the reform. The state passed Ray's Law. requiring all HOAs to disclose enforcement contractors, ban third-party intimidation, and provide annual financial audits. I stood in the Capitol when it was signed. I held up Lisa's photo. This is why we fight. Lisa and I started counseling. The trauma was real, but so was the healing. We used part of the settlement to fund therapy for other victims. I also became a speaker at financial conferences. My talk, "Your net worth is your peace of mind." I shared how emergency funds, insurance, and legal awareness saved my family. Companies wanted me to endorse their products. I said yes, only to those I truly used. Integrity over income. Because in the end, money isn't power. Preparedness is. And I was more prepared than ever. Because no one should have to beg for their rights. You protect them with every tool you've got. The civil suit kicked off with a 47-page complaint filed in district court, and it was nuclear. We named not just the Pine Ridge Homeowners Association, but the property management company, the so-called compliance agency Summit Compliance Solutions, and the two bikers, James Carter and Marcus Dale, as co-conspirators in a coordinated campaign of intimidation, fraud, and emotional coercion. Our legal argument was clear. The HOA had knowingly outsourced illegal enforcement actions to a third-party shell company in order to avoid direct liability, creating a shadow network of fear designed to silence dissent. This wasn't just a violation of community laws, it was a textbook case of willful misconduct, civil conspiracy, and racketeering under the RICO Act. The discovery phase was brutal, invasive, and absolutely necessary. We subpoenaed bank records, email servers, cell phone data, property management contracts, and even the personal financial statements of the HOA board members. What we found was worse than we ever imagined. The HOA had been using funds from its reserve account, money legally required to be held for infrastructure repairs, road maintenance, and emergency repairs, to pay security consultants on a monthly retainer of $2,500. That's $45,000 over 18 months. Money that should have been spent fixing potholes and updating the community pool, not funding intimidation squads. The wire transfers were all there, clearly marked. Summit Compliance, Code Enforcement Services. But there was no invoice, no scope of work, no deliverables. Just payments and silence. We dug deeper. Emails between the HOA president, Diane Kessler, and the owner of Summit Compliance revealed explicit instructions. We need non-lethal enforcement actions against problem owners. Make them feel unsafe, but don't leave marks. One message read, "The Reyes guy is a problem. He's vocal. He's online. He's not afraid. We need him compliant, fast." Another email from the contractor, "We'll handle it. Discreet. No records." This wasn't negligence. This was criminal. And it wasn't isolated. We subpoenaed the records of other homeowners who had received fines for minor violations, unapproved landscaping, satellite dishes, fence heights. We found a pattern. 12 homeowners had been targeted for escalated enforcement over the past 2 years. 3 of them had received in-person visits from the same enforcers group out Dia. One was an 82-year-old war veteran who'd been fined for not mowing his lawn during a hospital stay. Another was a single mother who'd installed solar panels without prior approval. Both had been visited by the bikers. Both had paid their fines immediately. Neither had reported it, out of fear. We reached out. After seeing our evidence, both agreed to join the lawsuit as plaintiffs. This was no longer just my fight. It was a class action. And the financial implications were staggering. The moment class action status was granted by the court, the HOA's insurance company panicked. They had directors and officers, D&O liability coverage, a policy designed to protect board members from lawsuits related to governance decisions. But the policy had a critical exclusion. No coverage for intentional, criminal, or fraudulent acts. The evidence we presented, the wire transfers, the emails, the sworn affidavits, proved this wasn't a mistake. It was a scheme. And that meant the board members were personally liable. The treasurer, a retired accountant named Greg Holloway, was the first to crack. He settled out of court for $75,000 and resigned immediately. The vice president, a woman named Linda Cho, disappeared, literally. She sold her home, moved out of state, and stopped responding to calls. Only Diane Kessler, the president, held out, until we played a recorded phone call in which she said, "We had to keep control. Otherwise, everyone would paint their doors, install solar panels, do whatever they wanted. We can't let that happen. We have to make examples." That recording, captured during a routine call from a cooperating homeowner, was the smoking gun. It proved intent. It proved malice. And it proved that this wasn't about rules. It was about power. Within 48 hours, she agreed to a settlement and stepped down. Then came the federal escalation. The district attorney, impressed by the volume of evidence and the pattern of abuse, referred the case to the FBI's Civil Rights Division and the U.S. Attorney's Office. They opened a federal investigation under the Fair Housing Act and the Racketeer Influenced and Corrupt Organizations, RICO, Act. Yes, we were arguing that the HOA operated like a criminal enterprise, using intimidation, fraud, and coercion to maintain control over property owners. But the real victory wasn't the money. It was the reform. The state legislature, pressured by public outrage and media coverage, introduced Reyes Law, a bill requiring all HOAs in Colorado to 1. Disclose any third-party enforcement contractors. 2. Ban the use of intimidation or threats. 3. Provide annual financial audits to homeowners. And 4. Allow electronic voting for board decisions. The bill passed unanimously. I was invited to the Capitol for the signing ceremony. I stood beside the governor, holding a photo of Lisa from the day the bikers showed up. "This is why we fight," I said. "Not for revenge, for accountability, for peace, for the right to feel safe in your own home." The room erupted in applause. That night I uploaded a video titled, "We Passed a Law Because of You." It hit 1.8 million views in 72 hours. The message was clear. When homeowners unite, when they protect their finances, when they document everything, they win. Lisa and I started counseling. The trauma was real, the fear, the anxiety, the sleepless nights. But so was the healing. We used part of the settlement to fund therapy not just for ourselves, but for other victims who couldn't afford it. I also became a speaker at major financial conferences. My keynote, "Your net worth is your peace of mind." I shared how a $68,000 emergency fund, a $25,000 insurance claim, and a 790 credit score saved my family. Companies wanted me to endorse their products. Mortgage brokers, insurance firms, wealth managers. I said yes, but only to those I truly used and trusted. No fake promotions. No shady deals. Integrity over income. Because in the end, money isn't power. Preparedness is. And I was more prepared than ever. Because the real lesson wasn't about paint colors or doors. It was about power. About control. About the fact that when you protect your finances, your credit, your insurance, and your legal rights, you protect your freedom. And no one should have to beg for that. You claim it with every tool you've got. After the settlement, $620,000, tax-free under personal injury laws, I didn't blow it on luxury cars, vacations, or flashy watches. I rebuilt smarter. I treated the money not as a windfall, but as a wire chesty, a tool to secure my family's future, eliminate financial vulnerability, and create a legacy of empowerment. The first thing I did was pay off the remaining balance on my mortgage, $184,000. I didn't just send a check. I refinanced first at 2.9% to lock in the lowest rate possible, then used the settlement funds to pay it off in full. That freed up $1,900 per month in cash flow, money that had been going to the bank, now redirected into my control. I didn't feel relief. I felt power. No more monthly payments. No more interest. No more risk of foreclosure. The cabin was truly mine. And that peace of mind? Worth more than any return on investment. I documented the entire process in a video. I paid off my mortgage with a settlement. Here's how I did it. It became one of my most watched videos, racking up 2.3 million views in 2 weeks. Advertisers loved it. Refinance your mortgage and save thousands. Get a home equity line of credit. How to build wealth without debt. My RPM spiked to $48 on that single video. A clear sign that financial freedom content drives high-value ad revenue. I also upgraded the cabin itself, not for luxury, but for security and resilience. And I installed bulletproof windows rated level 3, capable of withstanding rifle fire. I built a panic room in the basement with reinforced steel walls, a secondary air supply, and a direct line to the sheriff's office. I added a solar-powered backup system with a 20 kW DW battery bank, ensuring we'd never lose power during emergencies. I upgraded the internet to a dual-line setup, one fiber, one satellite, so I could keep filming and streaming no matter what. Total cost, $89,000. I didn't pay cash. I used a home improvement loan wing at 4.1% interest, which I paid off in just 14 months using the rental income from my new property. I documented every step, the contractors, the permits, the financing. I released a video. I turned my cabin into a fortress. Here's the cost and ROI. It was packed with finance keywords: home equity loan, security ROI, off-grid power, emergency preparedness, insurance discounts. The video attracted ads like, get a home security system for $0 down, protect your family with life insurance, refinance to fund renovations. Exactly the high RPM content I needed. Speaking of new property, I bought a second one. A lakefront cabin in northern Idaho listed at $310,000. I put 20% down using funds from my investment account. Financed the rest with a 15-year fixed mortgage at 5.3%. But here's the key. I didn't buy it in my name. I set up a single-member LLC, Pine Ridge Holdings LLC, to hold the title. Why? Liability protection. If someone slips and falls on the property, sues and wins, they can't come after my personal assets, my cabin, my savings, my YouTube business. The LLC acts as a legal firewall. I also saved thousands on insurance premiums because the LLC qualified for commercial liability rates. I explained this in a video. Why I put my rental property in an LLC, and you should too. I showed the formation process, the AIN, the bank account setup, the tax implications. It was a masterclass in asset protection. The video exploded, 1.7 million views, and brought in affiliate income from legal formation services like LegalZoom and InkFile. I earned $12,000 in commissions in the first month alone. And again, the ads were gold. Form your LLC for $0. Protect your assets from lawsuits. Get business insurance in minutes. But I didn't stop at real estate. I started teaching others how to protect themselves, financially, legally, emotionally. I launched an online course, iFinancial Defense: How to Protect Your Home, Wealth, and Family. It was a 12-module program covering emergency funds, credit monitoring, insurance stacking, legal preparedness, HOA rights, tax optimization, and crisis planning. I priced it at $199 and marketed it to my most engaged viewers, the ones who had been through HOA battles, credit disputes, or financial abuse. I didn't run flashy ads. I told the story. I showed my journey. I gave free previews. Within 6 weeks, 3,200 people had enrolled. That's $636,800 in revenue, all from a single product. I hired a small team. An editor, a customer support rep, and a curriculum designer. I reinvested profits into better course software, professional videos, and live Q&A sessions. The course wasn't just profitable, it was transformative. People wrote to me. I used your HELOC strategy to stop a foreclosure. I froze my credit and caught identity theft. I formed an LLC and saved $4,000 in insurance. That was the real win. Today, our cabin stands strong, not just as a home, but as a symbol. The front door is still forest green. No one has ever asked us to change it again. The HOA that once tried to break us is gone, dissolved by court order after being found liable in a landmark civil rights case. The land is now governed by a transparent homeowners co-op, elected by the residents, with open budgets, public meetings, and zero tolerance for intimidation. I serve as a financial advisor to the new board, ensuring they never repeat the mistakes of the past. I help them set up a high-yield reserve account, implement annual audits, and create a dispute resolution process that doesn't involve threats or third-party enforcers. This isn't revenge. It's reform. And it's working. My YouTube channel has grown to over 1.4 million subscribers. I've helped more than 12,000 people fight back against HOA abuse, credit fraud, and financial intimidation. I've written a book, Secure Your Castle: How I Beat My HOA and Built a Financial Fortress. That's a bestseller on Amazon. I launched a podcast with the same name, where I interview other homeowners who've won their battles. I even consulted on a TV drama being developed by a major network, based on my story. But the greatest reward isn't fame, followers, or royalties. It's freedom. The freedom to live without fear. The freedom to make choices. The freedom to protect what matters most. If you're facing HOA bullying, here's what to do. Step by step. 1. Document everything. Shave every letter, every email, every text. Record every interaction. Use cloud storage, external drives, and timestamp backups. Your evidence is your leverage. 2. Freeze your credit. Go to annualcreditreport.com and freeze your files with all 3 bureaus: Equifax, Experian, TransUnion. It's free. It stops identity theft. It protects your financial foundation. 3. Review your insurance. Check your homeowner's policy for civil liability, legal defense, and emotional distress coverage. File a claim if you've been threatened. It could cover thousands in legal fees. 4. Build an emergency fund. Aim for 6-12 months of expenses in a high-yield savings account. At 4.75% AP, even $50,000 earns over $2,300 a year. Passive income that could fund your fight. 5. Consult a real estate attorney. Don't wait. Don't hope it goes away. Get legal counsel the second you feel threatened. Many offer free consultations. Some work on contingency. 6. Go public. Post your story on social media, YouTube, Reddit. Public pressure works. Media outlets pick up viral stories. And advertisers follow attention, which means higher RPMN for you. 7. Fight back. Smartly, legally, financially. Don't escalate with anger. Escalate with evidence, strategy, and financial preparedness. Because the real battle isn't about rules. It's about control. And you take control when you protect your money, your credit, and your rights. I didn't just stop the bikers. I stopped the system that created them. And I did it with finance as my weapon. When the HOA thought they could break me, I showed up with bank statements, insurance policies, legal motions, and a credit score of 790. I didn't yell. I didn't threaten. I presented facts. I followed procedures. I used the system, the financial system, the legal system, the media system, to dismantle their abuse. And I won. Not just for me. For Lisa.A. For our future. For every homeowner who's ever been bullied into silence. Because no one should have to beg for their rights. You protect them with every tool you've got. I've also become a speaker at financial conferences, universities, and homeowner associations. My talk, your net worth is your peace of mind. I share how a $68,000 emergency fund, a $25,000 insurance claim, and a 790 credit score saved my family. I show how Helix, LTAs, umbrella insurance, and solo 401(k)s aren't just for the wealthy, they're for the prepared. Companies want me to endorse their products. Mortgage lenders, insurance firms, investment platforms. I say yes, but only to those I truly use. No fake promotions. No shady deals. Integrity over income. Because in the end, money isn't power. Preparedness is. And I'm more prepared than ever. Every Sunday, I review my net worth spreadsheet. It's not about bragging. It's about accountability. It tracks real estate equity, $490,000, investment portfolio, $380,000, Cash and savings, $92,000. Retirement accounts, $66,000 solo 401. K, $110,000 era. Business assets, YouTube. Course, nonprofit. But the real number isn't on the spreadsheet. It's in the look on Lisa's face when she walks into our home. No fear, no anxiety, just peace. That's the ROI no chart can measure. So if you're watching this, and your HOA is threatening you, harassing you, or trying to control your life, know this: you are not powerless. You have tools. You have rights. You have options. Document everything. Freeze your credit. Review your insurance. Build your emergency fund. Get legal help. Go public. Fight back, not with rage, but with strategy, evidence, and financial strength. Because when they come for your door, they're really coming for your freedom. And no one should have to beg for that. You claim it with every tool you've got. You protect your property. You protect your finances. And you protect your future. Because in the end, your home isn't just an asset. It's your freedom,